Ciao.
This challenge, according to engineers, in creating a flying car is to
talk about audio stuff right now. Maybe we'll talk about that later this week. Mike LaPlante is here with us, everybody. Mike LaPlante, you remember him from iChart and other things too. But iChart was the thing. What was your original Mac podcast?
It was the Easy Mac podcast.
Right. There we go. Which I thought you were still doing when I called you for iChart Radio. And you were like, no, I haven't done that in a while.
Well, I was still working with the gentleman who we started that with, who kind of just led me off into crazy dreamland. And I honestly think that Easy Mac podcast would still be going right now if we would have kept it the same way it was and running on the same schedule. But he had different aspirations, and that's all neither here nor there now, because we would not be sitting here today if that was the case.
Well,
maybe we would.
I was going to say we might be, because you'd still be around. I mean, I called you assuming that your show was still going. Allison Sheridan was on a couple of weeks ago. Mike's got another show going, by the way, and we'll talk about that probably tomorrow and again later this week. Allison Sheridan was just on this show about a week and a half ago after the whole Time Flies event. Her show's like 15 years old now. Adam Christensen's show is coming up on 16. Mine turns 15 in January, and we're all still talking.
Bunch of teenagers.
So had your show kept going the way it was, we'd probably still be talking. I don't think it would devolve to Blood Feud or anything like that. Not speaking of that guy, his show's been on as long as mine has. So people who listen to this show are listening right now, and I don't need to tell them, except it's the whole thing where as you go into a segment, you want to tell people what you're doing. Monday is the day of the week when the guest actually brings the topic. It's news to blank is what the segment is sort of called, except I don't say blank when the person's on. Like today, Mike LaPlante is on. And so the whole idea behind It's News to Blank is people who have something they want to talk about, bring that to the table. It might not be something that I would have hit. Heck, it might not even be something I know about. Kind of excited today because I have absolutely no idea what Mike LaPlante is bringing to the table. And so when I say It's News to Mike, Mike, what are we talking about?
We are talking about the evolution of the cab ride. There's companies out there. I'm telling you, this is
wow. Okay, and this hang on a second.
Did I just knock you upside the head there? What cabs? What?
This is a tech story.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, go.
Hyundai and Uber are teaming up to form. This name just blows my mind because they must have put so much effort into it. Uberdai.
Oh, that sounds terrible.
It does.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I know it's DAI, not DIE. But when you say Uber die, I'm like, well, that's got tragedy written all over it.
Yeah, to an Uber scale, actually. But it's fascinating to me because I always wanted to live long enough to see a Jetsons type of air travel. Mm-hmm. And basically that's what this is. But it's going to get rolled out because you can't just throw vehicles up in the air, and that's what this is. This is vehicles that hold one pilot and 3 passengers, and it flies. And it's propelled by electricity. So it has a 60-mile range, mm-hmm. and it can travel at 180 miles an hour. So imagine the possibilities, I guess you'd say. So for one thing, you automatically think of safety, but I think that the way they want to do this is it's going to be rolled out. So they want to go to specific metropolitan areas and basically set up lanes of traffic in the sky, not very high in the sky, because that's where a lot of other actual planes fly. Because mm-hmm. I'm hesitant to call this a plane, but it does fly, and it moves at a relatively good clip.
All right, I'm having trouble with a few different things. I'm curious. When you say it's a 60-mile range and it will go 180 miles per hour.
Short rides.
Well, it'd have to be really short rides, and then it needs a charge after it's flown 60 miles?
I would assume so, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
The pilot. Is the pilot doing anything, or is the pilot there for safety?
That's a question I don't know.
Okay.
No, he's not there for safety.
Okay.
Initially, these are going to be piloted because they have to steer the thing or whatever, land it probably more than anything.
Okay.
Taking it off and landing is probably going to be the thing. But it seems more like a helicopter. Have you ever seen photos of it? It's got many propellers on it. Mm-hmm. So it looks more like a drone than anything. So it's a cross between a drone and a very small plane. And I would assume it doesn't fly very high up in the sky either. But you mentioned the autonomous thing. They do have plans to make this autonomous by 2029. And by then, who knows? I mean, everything could be autonomous by then as far as personal transportation goes.
Do you have any of those robo cars driving around where you are? Because I do. In my neighborhood, I will occasionally see it. I don't see it as much now, but that's because I'm not spending as much time out because, hashtag these uncertain times. But there's one that I see around, and I couldn't tell what it was at first. It's got one of those things that looks like a, the vacuum cleaner on the roof.
Vacuum cleaner?
Well, or something. I can't think of the exact thing. But like the cylinder with the cone at the bottom, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's always somebody behind the wheel, but then I looked up the thing because they've got their name emblazoned on the side, and it is in fact the car is driving itself. They've got a guy in there, like all the other tests, except this is apparently ramped up a bit, where you can sign up that you can actually get rides from this company, and it will still be you and some other guy in the car because that guy is there in case the robot brain driving the car decides it would be better to drive into a tree or something. Do you have anything like that around there where you are?
Well, we don't have them, but the company that I work for makes them. We make them in the plant that I work in, and we ship them to Google. And the name of the company is Waymo. What is the company that you see emblazoned on the side of your vehicles?
Well, no, it's a service. I think. I don't believe it's. They may be using Waymo, or they may be using something else. I mean, this has already sort of gone to the next. Well, I mean, they must be testing the cars. I don't know, honestly. I don't remember because it's been too long since I've seen one. It was like Bot Ride or Hot Bot, not Hot Bot. I don't remember. It was like some goofy name that you're like, well, that's obviously a startup of some sort. But I didn't realize it didn't say automatically, Robocar. Like Robocar probably would have said it, although it also would have been laughed out of town.
Yeah, I actually was torn whether I want to talk about this story or robots, but I went with this story here.
It's the same thing, isn't it? What is the robot doing? It's carrying you from place to place, right? Or is it, sneaking up on you in your sleep? Let me ask you another. Did you see that
video of that giant robot that they had at some tech conference in Japan, like just a couple days ago? Like 60-foot tall robot, and it's physically moving.
Yeah,
it was kind of scary, really, to look at. Like, whoa! What if they had an army of those? We're done.
That's the giant Gundam thing, right? Gundam, is that what it's called?
That's what it was. Exactly. Yeah. That's what it was.
Yeah. I heard that they were building it. I hadn't actually seen video of it. I want to go back to your topic, though, really quickly, because you are a guy in the car industry. There are a bunch of things that I wonder about. I don't guess you care, do you? Because, you're in the position of building automobiles. You see oversee the production of automobiles. It's fine with you whether that's being sold to the guy down the street or being sold to the central office that's going to fly around the guy down the street. Mm-hmm. Does this whole thing interest you because of the new technology? Does it interest you just because since you were a kid, you wanted to look up in the sky and see flying cars? Does it interest you because of what it might mean for the change in the business model of this whole thing? What is it about this that turns you on?
A little bit of everything that you just said. The little kid in me, which I think everybody should have a little kid in them, definitely wants to see a Jetson style of mode of transportation up in the sky. And if you notice, the vehicles they were traveling were going in, some sort of lane traffic. They passed each other like they were on a highway of some sort.
Right.
And that's what they have in mind for this. Also, I'm very interested in where the transportation industry is going to go, because it can go in so many different directions. It's just which one is going to have the right idea, the right backing, the right government infrastructure. There's so many things that play on what works and what doesn't work. Mm-hmm. And for me, being in the automotive industry, it's definitely going to play some part in that. Having said that, I'm not going to be in the automotive industry much longer, but it's definitely something that I've spent my whole life working at.
Yeah. You going into robots? Is that what's happening?
I'm going to go work for Apple in their top secret
Nice.
autonomous driving vehicle.
Very cool. Whether they want me to or not. Let me ask you one other thing really quickly. Do you keep up with Horace Didier?
Horace Didier, I've heard of him, but and I've actually heard of you mention him. No, but remind me who Horace Didier is.
He's a really smart guy who does a lot of stuff on Apple. He was one of the most insightful people to follow on Apple, I think, for quite a while. I personally don't understand what he's doing right now, but I would encourage you to follow him because his thing, I got to see him in LA a couple of years ago at an event. And he was still talking Apple, but the thing that he was really excited about at the time was micro-mobility. That's where he sees real change coming in technology, which is kind of what you're talking about, except without the flying. Mm-hmm. And he's sort of doubling down on that whole thing now. So his Twitter feed right now is all stuff about bike lanes and people renting bikes and e-bikes and small, electric cars and things like that. He thinks, the thing that's most exciting to him about near future stuff seems to be micro-mobility. Instead of all of us buying big American car with tail fins, we're all going to just rent whatever ride we need to get from point A to point B. We're not going to own cars. We're not going to sit on the highway, that kind of thing. You might be interested in following him.
Didier is of the day. Is that how he spells his last name?
I have no idea.
All right, I'll figure it out.
Look him up, yeah. Or I'll find it after the show and send it to you. And anybody else who's interested in this thing that is news to Mike, Horace is a good one to follow. And, keep your eye on the sky.